servants of Yhwh at the hand of Jezebel. For the whole house of Ahab shall perish, and I will cut off from Ahab every male person, both bond and free in Israel. And I will make the house of Ahab like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, the son of Ahab. Came out to the servants of his master, and he said to them, "It is all well. Why did this mad fellow come to you?" And he said to them, "You know very well the man and his talk." And they said, "It is a lie. Tell us now." And he said, "Thus and thus," he said to me, "Thus says Yhwh, I have anointed you king over Israel." Then they heard, and each man took his garment and placed it under him on the bare steps, and blew the trumpet, saying, "Jehu was king." So Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, conspired against Jerome. Now Jerome, with all Israel, was defending Ramoth Gilead against Hazael, king of Aram. The king Jerome had returned to Jezreel to be healed of the wounds which the Arameans had inflicted on him when he fought with Hazael, king of Aram. So Jehu said, "If this is your mind, then let no one escape or leave the city to go tell it in Jezreel." Then Jehu rode in a chariot and went to Jezreel, for Joram was lying there. And Ahaziah, king of Judah, came down to see Joram. Now the watchman was standing on the tower in Jezreel, and he saw the company of Jehu as he came and said, "I see a company." And Joram said, "Take a horseman and send him to meet him, and let him say, 'Is it peace?'" So a horseman went to meet him and said, "Thus says the king, 'Is it peace?' And Jehu said, "What have you to do with peace? Turn behind me." And the watchman reported, the messenger came to them, but he did not return. Then he sent out a second horseman, who came to them and said, "Thus says the king, 'Is it peace?' And Jehu answered, "What have you to do with peace? Turn behind me." And the watchman reported, "He came even to them and did not return." And the driving is like the driving of Jehu, the son of Nimshi, for he drives furiously. Then Joram said, "Get ready." And he made his chariot ready. And Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, went out, each in his chariot. And they went out to meet Jehu, and found him in the property of Naboth the Jezreelite. And it came about, when Joram saw Jehu, that he said, "Is it peace, Jehu?" And he answered, "What peace, so long as the harlots of your mother Jezebel and her witchcrafters are so many?" So Joram reigned about and fled, and said to Ahaziah, "There's treachery, O Ahaziah." And Jehu drew his bow with his full strength and shot Joram between his arms. And the arrow went through his heart, and he sank in his chariot. Then Jehu said to Bikar, his officer, "Take him up and cast him into the property of the field of Naboth the Jezreelite. For I remember when you and I were riding together after Ahab his father, that Yhwh laid the oracle against him. Surely I have seen yesterday the blood of Naboth and the blood of his sons, says Yhwh, and I will repay you in this property, says Yhwh. Now then, take and cast him into the property according to the word of Yhwh." When Ahaziah, the king of Judah, saw this, he fled by the way of the garden house. And Jehu pursued him and said, "Shoot him too in the chariot." So they shot him at the ascent of Gur, which is at Ableam. But he fled to Megiddo and died there. Then his servants carried him in a chariot to Jerusalem and buried him in his grave with his fathers in the city of David. Now in the 11th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, Ahaziah became king over Judah. When Jehu came to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her eyes and adorned her head and looked out the window. And as Jehu entered the gate, she said, "It is well, Jezebel, your master's murderer." Then he lifted up his face to the window and said, "Who is on my side? Who?" And 2 or 3 of the officials looked down at him. And he said, "Throw her down." So they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and on the horses, and he trampled her underfoot. When he came in, he ate and drank, and said, "See now to this cursed woman and bury her." But they found no more of her than the skull and the feet, and the palms of her hands. Therefore they returned and told him, and he said, This is the words of Yahweh, which he spoke by his servant Elijah the Tishbite, saying, In the property of Jezreel the dogs shall eat the flesh of Jezebel, and the corpse of Jezebel shall be as dung on the face of the field in the property of Jezreel. So they cannot say, This is Jezebel.
Good morning, everyone. It's a blessing to be here today. It's wonderful to be here on this Sabbath. It's nice to see all the new faces. If you would, let's continue our reading in chapter 10. Now there were in Samaria 70 sons of the house of Ahab. So Jehu wrote letters and sent them to Samaria, to the officials of Jezreel, to the elders and to the guardians of Ahab's children. He said, As soon as this letter reaches you, since your master's sons are with you, and you have chariots and horses, a fortified city and weapons, choose the best and most worthy of your master's sons and set him on his father's throne. Then fight for your master's house. But they were terrified and said, If two kings could not resist him, how can we? So the palace administrator, the city governor, the elders, and the guardians sent this message to Jehu. We are your servants, and we will do anything you say. We will not appoint anyone as king. You do whatever you think best. And Jehu wrote them a second letter saying, If you are on my side and will obey me, take the heads of your master's sons and come to me at Jezreel by this time tomorrow. Now the royal princes, 70 of them, were with the leading men of the city, who were rearing them. When the letter arrived, these men took the princes and slaughtered all 70 of them. They put their heads in baskets and sent them to Jehu in Jezreel. When the messenger arrived, he told Jehu, and brought the heads of the princes. Then Jehu ordered, Put them in 2 piles at the entrance of the city gate until morning. The next morning Jehu went out. He stood before all the people and said, You were innocent. It was I who conspired against my master and killed him. But who killed all these? Know then that not a word of Yahweh has spoken against the house of Ahab will fail. Yahweh has done what he promised through his servant Elijah. So Jehu killed everyone in Jezreel who remained in the house of Ahab, as well as all his chief men, his close friends, his priests, leaving them no survivor. Jehu then set out and went towards Samaria. At Beth-Eked of the shepherds, he met some relatives of Haggai, king of Judah, and asked, Who are you? They said, We're the relatives of Uzziah, and we have come down to greet the families of the king and of the queen mother. Take them alive, he ordered. So they took them alive and slaughtered them by the well of Beth-Eked, 42 men. He left no survivor. After he left there, he came upon Jehonadab, son of Rechab, who was on his way to meet him. Jehu greeted him and said, Are you in accord with me as I am with you? I am, Jehonadab answered. If so, said Jehu, give me your hand. So he did, and Jehu helped him up into the chariot. Jehu said, Come with me and see my zeal for Yahweh. Then he had him ride along in his chariot. When Jehu came to Samaria, he killed all who were left there of Ahab's family. He destroyed them according to the word of Yahweh spoken to Elijah. Then Jehu brought all the people together and said to them, Ahab served Baal a little. Jehu will serve him much. Now summon all the prophets of Baal, all his ministers, and all his priests. See that no one is missing, because I'm going to hold a great sacrifice for them. Anyone who fails to come will no longer live. But Jehu was acting deceptively in order to destroy the Israel. Jehu said, Call an assembly in honor of Baal. So they proclaimed it. Then he sent word throughout Israel, and all the ministers of Baal came. Not one stayed away. They crowded into the temple of Baal until it was full from one end to the other. And Jehu said to the keeper of the wardrobe, "Wrote to the men of Baal." Jehu said to the ministers of Baal, "Look around and see, no servants of Yahweh are here with you, only ministers of Baal." So they went in to make sacrifices and burnt offerings. Now Jehu had posted 80 men outside this morning. If one of you lets any of the men I am placing in your hands escape, it will be your life for his life. As soon as Jehu had finished making the burnt offering, he ordered the guards and officers, "Go in and kill them. Let no one escape." So they cut them down with the sword. The guards and officers threw the bodies out and then entered the inner shrine of the temple of Baal. They brought the sacred stone out of the temple of Baal and burned it. They demolished the sacred stone of Baal and tore down the temple of Baal, and people have used it for a latrine to this day. So Jehu destroyed Baal worship in Israel. However, he did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit, the worship of the golden calves of Bethel and Dan. Yahweh said to Jehu, "Because you have done well in accomplishing what is right in my eyes, and have done to the house of Ahab all I had in mind to do, your descendants will sit on the throne of Israel to the fourth generation." Yet Jehu was not careful to keep the law of Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, with all his heart. He did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, which he had caused Israel to commit. In those days, Yahweh began to reduce the size of Israel. Hazael overpowered the Israelites throughout their territory, east of the Jordan and all the way to Gilead, the region of Gad, Reuben, and Manasseh. From Aroer by the Arnon of the gorge from Gilead to Bashan. As for the other events of Jehu's reign, all he did, and all his achievements, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Jehu rested with his fathers, and was buried in Samaria. His son succeeded him as king. The time that Jehu reigned over Israel and Samaria was 28 years.
Be reading from Luke 21. But first, if y'all will go ahead and pray with me, we'll go and pray. Heavenly Father Yahweh, we thank you so much for the blessings you've given us, and the life you've given us, and calling us out. Father, we thank you for the rain that you've given us and the warm weather and those we've had lately that you've been there with us and taking care of us. Father, we ask that you continue to be with us and watch over us and protect us through our daily lives. Thank you for the food and the water that we have every day, that we don't have to struggle or fight for it. Thank you for all those blessings that we have. Father, we ask that you look down on people who are suffering at this time, and you know everyone's struggle or difficulty that they're having, whether it's physical pain or mental pain. Ask that you take care of them and supply their needs for them. We ask that you please bless all the people who are worshiping you today and serving you on the seventh day. Thank you for and just love you so much, and give you all thanks for our Yhwh Messiah. Hallelujah. Luke 21. While Yhwh was in the temple, he watched the rich people dropping their gifts in the collection box. Then a poor widow came by and dropped in 2 small coins. I tell you the truth, Yhwh said, the poor widow has given more than all the rest of them. For they have given a tiny part of their surplus, but she, poor as she is, has given everything she has. Some of his disciples began talking about the majestic stonework of the temple and the memorial decorations on the walls. But Yhwh said, the time is coming when all these things will be completely demolished. Not one stone will be left on top of another. Teacher, they asked, when will all this happen? What sign will show us that these things are about to take place? He replied, don't let anyone mislead you, for I will come, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and saying, the time has come, but don't believe them. And when you hear of wars and insurrections, don't panic. Yet these things must take place first, but the end won't follow immediately. Then he added, nation will go to war against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, and there will be famines and plagues in many lands. And there will be terrifying things and great miraculous signs from heaven. But before all this occurs, there will be a time of great persecution. You will be dragged into synagogues and prisons, and you will stand trial before kings and governors because you are my followers. But this will be your opportunity to tell them about me. So don't worry in advance about how to answer the charges against you, for I will give you the right words and such wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to reply or refute you. Even those closest to you, your parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, will betray you. They will even kill some of you, and everyone will hate you because you are my followers. But not a hair of your head will perish. By standing firm, you will win your souls. And when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then you will know that the time of its destruction has arrived. Then those in Judea must flee to the hills. Those in Jerusalem must go out, and those out in the country should not return to the city. For those will be days of Yahweh's vengeance, and the prophetic word of the Scriptures will be fulfilled. How terrible will it be for a pregnant woman or for nursing mothers in those days? For there will be disasters in the land, and great anger against this people. They will be killed by the sword and sent away as captives to all the nations of the world. Jerusalem will be trampled down by the Gentiles until the period of Gentiles comes to an end. And there will be strange signs in the sun, moon, and stars. And here on earth the nations will be in turmoil, perplexed by the roaring seas and strange tides. People will be terrified at what they see coming upon the earth, for the powers in the heaven will be shaken. Then everyone will see the Son of Man coming on a cloud with power and great glory. So when all these things begin to happen, stand and look up, for your salvation is near. Then he gave them this illustration. Notice the fig tree, or any other tree. When the leaves come out, you know without being told that summer is near. In the same way, when you see all these things taking place, you can know that the kingdom of Yahweh is near. I tell you the truth, this generation will not pass from the scene until all these things have been taken place. By the worries of this life, don't let that day catch you unaware, like a trap. For that day will come upon everyone living on the earth. Keep alert at all times and pray that you might be strong enough to escape these coming horrors and stand before the Son of Man.
Every day Yhwh went to the temple to teach, and each evening he returned to spend the night on the Mount of Olives. The crowds gathered at the temple each morning to hear him.
Good morning. Continuing chapter 22. And the feast of unleavened sought to destroy him, for they feared the people. And Satan entered into Judas, and the one having been called Iscariot, being the number of the 12. And going, he talked with the chief priests and the commanders as to how he might deliver him up. And they exalted, and they agreed to give him silver. And he fully consented, and sought opportunity to betray him to them away from the crowd. And the day of unleavened bread came, one on which the Passover must be slaughtered. And he sent Peter and John, saying, having gone, prepare the Passover, that they may eat. And they said to him, where do you desire that we prepare? And he said to them, and you shall say to the housemaster of that house, our master says to you, where is the guest room where I might eat the Passover with my disciples? And that one will show you a large upper room, one which has been furnished, prepared there. And he, having gone, they found him, and found as he had told them, and prepared the Passover. For I say to you, from now on, I will not eat of it again until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of Yhwh. And taking the cup, he gave thanks, and he said, take this and divide it amongst yourselves. For I say unto you, I will not drink from the produce of the vine again until the kingdom of Yhwh comes. And he took the bread and gave thanks and broke it and gave it to them and said, this is my body, which for you, your sake, is given. Do this for a memorial. And in like manner, the cup, after having supped, saying, the cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is being shared for your sakes. But behold, the hand of the betrayer is on the table with me. And indeed, the Son of Man goes according as was determined. But woe to that man by whom he is betrayed. And they began to inquire amongst themselves, who then it may be one of them, the one being about to do this. And there was also a dispute among them of which of them seems to be greater. And Yhwh said to them, the kings of the Gentiles and their masters, and those who are authorities over them, are called doers of good. But you be not so. But the greater among you, let him be the lesser, and the one governing as the one serving. For one is greater, the one reclining. For who is greater? For the one reclining or the one serving? Is it not the one reclining? For I am in your midst as the one serving. But you are those continuing with me during my trial. And I appoint a kingdom to you, as my Father appointed me, that you may eat and drink at my table in the kingdom. And you will sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And the master said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan awaits to sift you like wheat. And I have prepared over you that your faith may not weaken. Also in time you will turn to and strengthen your brothers. And he said to them, Master, I am ready to go both to prison and to death with you. And he said, Peter, I say to you, a cock will not crow today before you will deny me 3 times. And he said to them, when I sent you without a purse or a wallet or sandals, did you lack anything? And they said, nothing. Then he said to them, but now, the one having a purse, let him take it, likewise a wallet. And the one not having a sword, let him sell his garment and let him buy a sword. For I say to you that this has been written, must be fulfilled in me. And he was numbered with the wicked. For the things concerning me will be fulfilled. And he said, Master, behold, here are 2 swords. And he said, it is sufficient. And going out, according to his custom, he went to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples also followed him. And he came to the place, and he said to them, pray that you do not enter into temptation. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's throw, and having placed the knees, he prayed, saying, Father, if you purpose it, take away this cup from me, but not my will be done, but let yours be done. And the angel from heaven appeared unto him, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more intently, and the sweat became as drops of blood falling down onto the earth. And rising up from the prayer, coming to his disciples, he found them sleeping from grief. And he said to them, why do you sleep? Rising up, pray that you do not enter into temptation. And as he was yet speaking, behold, a crowd, and the one called Judas, and the 12 came in front of them and drew near to Yhwh in order to kiss him. And Yhwh said to him, Judas, do ye not betray the Son of Man with a kiss? And those around him, seeing what was about to occur, they said to him, Master, shall we strike with the sword? And a certain one of them struck the slave of the high priest and cut off his right ear. And answering, Yhwh said, Allow it unto this. And touching his ear, he healed him. And Yhwh said to those coming upon him, chief priests, commanders of the sanctuary, and elders, have you come out with swords and clubs as against a robber? I was among you every day in the sanctuary, and you did not lay a hold of me. But this is your hour and the power of darkness. And laying hold of him, they led him away and led him into the house of the high priest. And Peter followed at a distance. And lighting a fire in the midst of the courtyard, they sitting down, Peter sat down in their midst. And a certain female slave, seeing him standing in the light, he stood and looking intently at him, she said, this one was with him. But he denied, saying, Woman, I don't know him. And after a while, another, seeing him, said, You are also one of them. But Peter said, Man, I am not. And about an hour in between, a certain this also with him, for he is also a Galilean. And Peter said, Man, I don't know what you say. And immediately as he yet spoke, the cock crowed. And turning, Yhwh looked at Peter, and Peter remembered the word of our Master, how he told him before the cock would crow that he would deny him 3 times. And going outside, Peter wept bitterly. And the men were holding Yhwh, mocking him and beating him, and blindfolding him, they were striking his face and questioning him, saying, Prophesy, who is the one who struck you? And blaspheming many other things, they said to him. And when they came, the body of the elders of the people and the chief priests and the scribes were gathered, and they led him away into the Sanhedrin, saying, "If you are the Messiah, tell us." And he said to them, "If I tell you, you will in no way believe. And also if I ask, in no way will you answer me, or let me go. For now the Son of Man will be sitting at the right. From now on, the Son of Man will be sitting at the right hand of the power of Yahweh." And they all said, "Then are you the Son of Elohim?" And he said unto them, "You say it, because I am." And they said, "Why do you yet need of the witness? For we ourselves have heard him from his mouth."
Shalom, everyone. I'd like to thank today's readers, Kyle, Josh Brooks, Josh Stubbs, and Gary. Appreciate your reading. This time comes our special music. First, I'd like to ask Jordan to come up, and after Jordan, we'll have Jesse.
And you understand everything you're going through. You keep standing at a distance, in the shadow of your shame. There's a light of hope that shines when you come and take yours. And bring it all to the table. There's nothing here you've seen before. All your fear, all your sorrow and your sadness, there's a Savior and He comes to bring it all to the table. He can see the way you care, and the fears that hold your heart. But through His love you've been forgiven. You're accepted as you are. There's nothing here you've seen before. All your sins and your worries and your burdens, there's a Savior and He comes, bring it all to the table. Bring it all. You can bring it all. So bring it all to the table. There's nothing here ain't seen before. All your trials and your worries and your burdens, there's a Savior and it goes. Bring it all to the table.
My fault.
I may not hit all the right notes, but the words of this song are very good, so I beg you to please listen to those. And this is for anybody who hurts, and
I offer up this
guys. Thanks everyone who brought those specials. Those are beautiful. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling extra blessed today.
All right, well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Why don't we all get up and stretch for a minute and say hi to your neighbor real quick. Take 2 minutes, stretch. Shake your neighbor's hands. Good to say hi to people. It was good to see people. It was good to stretch. All that good stuff. Hallelujah. All righty. Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you guys. Of speakers. Sometimes I even interject some Spanish words in there. But I'm very passionate, and sometimes that passion comes out as insults. So you guys are going to have to love me and be patient with me. Love me and be patient with me through the assaults, right? Hopefully it won't happen that way. So I want to talk to you today about guarding Yahweh's word and defending his honor. Right? Guarding his word and defending his honor. And what does that entail? Most of us know it's easy. Yeah? We're supposed to obey him. We're supposed to keep his word. We're supposed to follow him, follow the ways of the Messiah, etc., etc. But did you know that you have a duty before the Creator to defend his honor? That's interesting. How am I going to defend the Creator of the universe? And who am I? And what are my resources? And where in the heck does Hector get that from? Because maybe I've never heard that before. So I want to prove to you in the scriptures that we have been chosen to not just obey, but to defend his word and to defend his honor in on earth. Alright? Before I get into that, I want to tell you about a testimony. I know you guys are used to speakers saying prayers before the message. I just want to end with a prayer today. So I want to give you a little testimony. It has actually nothing to do with this message. Except that I made a promise to Yahweh. So in that sense, it does. So for the last couple of, let's say, 4 or 5 Sabbaths, we've had this young lady come to our congregation in Illinois. Her name is Madison. And she's 22 years old, right about there. And if you guys know, Hector and numbers don't go well, so just keep that in mind. Anyway, this young lady, it's kind of an unfortunate story. She's married, has 2 kids, and 1 on the way. And when she got pregnant, her husband decided that he just didn't want to be married anymore. But to make matters worse, she hears she's pregnant and she has heart failure, which means that her heart is enlarged. So she goes to the doctor, and they tell her, you need to abort that baby. See, now that part has a lot to do with my message today. Remember that. But they tell her, if you don't abort, you're going to die. So imagine, put yourself, young ladies, in your shoes. You're pregnant, you think you're in a happy marriage, and you have 2 children, and you're pregnant, and your husband says, I don't want to be married to you. I know what you guys are all thinking. Let's kill him. Right? And yes, that would be nice, but unfortunately, we can't do it. So she's dealing with this emotional turmoil, and then the news that's added to her is, oh yeah, all those chest pains you're having is because you're suffering from a heart failure, and your heart is enlarged, and if you go to full term with that baby, not you might die, but you are going to die. And so you need to abort, kill that life form in your body because if you don't, you're going to die. And she says, I don't care if I die. I am not aborting this baby. And her husband, because they're still technically married, even though he moved out, he still feels like he has a voice, and he is telling her, you will abort that baby. And she's saying, no, I will not. So last Sabbath, she was telling me the story, and I said to her, she said, oh yeah, I'm going to be having a doctor's appointment on Tuesday. And she says, well, then I'll find out how bad it's going to be. But I've decided that at some point in time, I'm going to have to deliver through C-section and try to give that baby a dad. She said, I'm not going to. You are willing to put your life at risk for this. Trust me, guys, it's pivotal, it's important. Especially right now with everything that's going on in society. And I said to her, hey, would you mind if I come to, and I drive and meet you at the hospital and go in with you and we can pray before? And I knew that her mom was going to be with her. And they said, yeah, you're willing to do that? I said, yeah, I want to do that. I want to take a drive to your place. They live about an hour and a half away. And so I'm willing to drive there and meet you at 9 o'clock Tuesday morning. And we're going to go into the chapel at the hospital. I mean, hospitals all have chapels, so it's not like I knew where it was. And, yeah, I'm not that smart, trust me. And so we went into the chapel, we went in there, and we just prayed to Yahweh. One of the things that I said, Father, if you show this young lady here who's seeking to know you more, seeking your word, has only kept the Sabbath 4 or 5 times, but she's wanting to praise you, to know you more, to seek you, create a miracle for us, and I will boast about it. Right? And not only myself will boast about it, but they will boast about it. And they both said, absolutely, we'll boast. So Wednesday morning, she calls me crying. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it's bad news. And she said, no. She said, you know, Yahweh is amazing, is what she told me. So the doctors are in shock. They can't figure out why my heart has shrunk. She said, it should not happen that way. It's pretty awesome. Because she said, my heart has shrunk. And the doctor was saying, this should not have happened because you're progressively more pregnant and your heart is progressively smaller. And should not have happened. And I said to her, remember the promise that we made to Yahweh? I said, I'm going to go down to Cisco and I'm going to tell about your testimony and I'm going to boast about the goodness of Yahweh. And you do so as well. And that's exactly what they're doing today at the assembly when they give a testimony. Pretty awesome. Pretty cool. Yahweh really is in control. Right? Now let's talk about for a minute about guarding His word and defending His honor. And why I feel like it's incredibly important for you to recognize that. You know, it's one of those paradigm shifts. You know, we go through life thinking one way and all of a sudden something happens and then we have to think another way. And that's just life for us, right? Our assembly recently went through a paradigm shift in that we decided that we're going to shift our calendar settings from the barley to the spring harvest. I don't want you to concentrate on the change of the calendar. What I want you to concentrate is on the paradigm shift that one congregation has to make where everybody decides that the change is okay. Right? So don't think about the calendar stuff, because I know right now there's a lot of stuff going on. But just realize the paradigm shift, the process of what it takes for you to think one way, 1 minute, and all of a sudden you're shifting all the gears of what it takes. And everybody does it. The entire congregation is part of that shift. I can tell you that it's not easy. Right? Imagine in this congregation, if there was going to be a paradigm shift of one thing, imagine the chaos that could ensue. And I'm not saying that it would necessarily happen that way, because I don't believe that it would, because I believe that you guys are closely connected to the leadership, where you would be obviously asking questions, and you should ask questions as a group of people. But for everybody to come out of it at the end of it and say, yeah, this is good, let's do it. And to have that paradigm shift is important and pivotal, and that's what I want to talk to you about. I want you to have that paradigm shift because I want to talk to you about honoring His word, and more importantly, more important than even obeying it, and of course obeying is a part of it, I want to talk to you about defending his honor and what all of that entails. Now, everybody knows the story about Adam and Eve, Genesis 1:26, right? What did Yahweh tell Adam? He said, you're going to have dominion over the world. That's what he said. Did he not say you're going to have dominion? Well, if you look out that word dominion, right, it means to be like to have an entrust, to subdue it, control, and all that stuff. But it also means to defend it. And it also means to establish it. And it also means to continue it. In other words, you're going to not abuse your resources to destroy the earth, but you're going to set up your resources. So you're going to plant a tree tomorrow, so when you're dead, your relatives or people after you can enjoy its fruit and can partake of its shade. Pretty simple, right? Is that like a no-brainer? Is Mr. Obvious in the house somewhere? Right? It's pretty simple. That's part of what it means to have dominion over it. It means that not only are you doing what you are to do today, but you're also setting it up for victory for the next person. And you're working today, by the way. You're working at it. You're not just laying around, waiting for stuff to grow. You're not just doing any of that stuff. You're actively working, actively defending, actively protecting, actively obeying. Active, active, active. Our faith is a verb. Our faith is a verb. It's action. It always has been. It always will be. It's not a noun. It's a verb. Activity after activity after activity. Pilgrimage after pilgrimage after pilgrimage. I just got home. I got to get ready to go back to Jerusalem, right? Because it's going to take me a while to get there. We're actively doing that. Like most of you guys, whenever I get bored, I like to log on to the Senate hearings. Like you guys, how do you guys do this? I know you do. Either for Texas, or for Illinois, or even for Washington. So I get on their websites and I'm like, all right, who am I going to listen to today for entertainment, excitement? So I know everybody else across America, all believers are doing the same thing. And lo and behold, the other day, I was listening to, just happened to log on to the Texas Senate hearings, and they were talking about SB 11. Most of you probably don't even know what that is, and that's okay. Hopefully, after this message, we get that paradigm shift, you will know what all that stuff is. So I'm just listening to the hearings, and of course, some people are like, what is that? What are you listening to? I'm like, that's my excitement. That just really gets my blood flowing. And lo and behold, I hear them mention a name that I'm familiar with. Ruth York, where are you? Raise your hand. Is she here anywhere? She's not. Yeah, they mentioned Ruth York's name is going to come up and speak on this bill. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Pull up the volume. Right? And then they mentioned Deborah Nelms. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Here are some people that I know that are going to represent people that I know. And they probably don't even know. Because I didn't. How cool is that? That there are people that are doing and defending and standing up for our rights, despite the fact that oftentimes we don't even know what's going on. Because we just don't. So I really, next time you talk to Ruth, if you did not know, or Deborah, I'm telling you that they're representing you guys, they're representing us. And they're defending the Father's word. And they're defending his honor in a place that's trying to dishonor and to destroy his word and his way of life. How many of you know that the government is talking about mandatory vaccinations? Mandatory vaccinations. How many of you know that vaccinations are made, some of them, the most common ones, are made with aborted fetal cells? So therefore, mandatory mandatory means what, guys? No exception. Not religious, not medical. You've got people out in the world that are making those kinds of decisions for us. And if I wasn't in this faith, I'd probably be okay. Except that I know that in defending our Father's honor, I cannot put that poison into my body. Well, I'm not talking to those people that think, well, it's okay if I do. And that's fine if you do. But I don't want to be forced to do it. I want to be able to have that choice. And my choice is governed by the Scriptures. It's not even governed by my intellect. It's governed by what the Creator says. And what the Creator tells me what I can and can't do. I mean, come on, I don't even eat pork. Right? And when I ate it, I loved it. We used to cook pork like every weekend. And we used to slaughter ourselves, cook it, and just, party. Right? But I don't touch it because I know in the Scriptures directs me to not consume that which He has not declared clean. So, but now you want me to inject myself with mercury and human fetal cells and animals' bloods? I already look like a gorilla sometimes. I feel like I would. You want to make me worse than I already am? Are you kidding me? We belong to the fastest growing religion in the world. That's a fact. Some of you may not know, you may not even care. But there are people all over the world that are reading their Bibles and saying, wow, we need to change. We need to start keeping the Shabbat. And we need to be different. And we need to obey the Father's commandments. Brother Jason Tao just called a gentleman yesterday that was struggling with that to encourage him to say, hey, you're not alone. This is good. This is what we're supposed to do. And because we are the fastest growing religion in the world, this is my opinion, the enemy is going to blitzkrieg his system against us as fast as he can. They're making decisions so fast in areas where they don't worship the Father. It's so fast that we almost need an agency of messianic people that are dedicated to blitzkrieg response so that they can counter all of the trash that they want to do to us. Because don't kid yourself. You're the target. And while we're sleeping comfortably in our beds, they're trying to figure out how to destroy us and how to make all these policies and rules that governs us so that we don't have a choice. Because if we don't do mandatory vaccinations, if that passes, we will not be able to drive and we will not be able to have jobs. There's many things that are going to go against us because they've done it in such a way and they don't tell us that that's what they're doing. They're just doing it. And they're hoping that nobody knows. They're blitzkrieging everything against us because they are anticipating that we are a sleeping people, not educated, not willing to fight for our rights, not willing to stand up and defend the orphans, not willing to call them and to say, hey, what you're doing is a sin, and I'm against it, and I will not stand for it, as Sister Ruth told the board in Texas. You know, when our assembly was shifting over, we were going to purchase that property where we are now. It's about a little over, just actually 18 and a half, almost 19 acres. And we had this issue where we had to go before the county to present our case, and, and of course, there were people around the area, because they also get letters in the mail to go and counter us. And of course, they didn't know us, but they showed up to counter us. The only problem for them is we had more people. The interesting thing is, most of our people didn't even belong to our assembly. Amanda was there. Keith was there. Their kids were there. Dwayne, they were still in Rocheport. I mean, we might have had 4 people from our congregation because we weren't that big. And we had like 30 people, and most of them were people that came in from different states. Am I right on that? Remember that? You were there? They came in, and so when it got to the hearing, they looked at us and they go, whoa, they have a lot of numbers. We better agree with them. Right? And we ended up getting the vote. And later on, the lady that does all the recording, because we had to go back to the office to get that letter that says that they approved us, she said, well, you know what really did it? She said the people that were there knew those guys that were representing the county, they were good friends. She said, but when they saw your numbers, they knew better. And they knew that they could not go against you. And so they're like, so it's a good thing you guys brought people. And we were like, well, the funny thing, and we didn't tell them this, but they're like, well, the funny thing is we only had like 4 people. They would have had more. They had about 10 people on their side. But because we had people that came in from different areas, they're like, oh, well, they must all be together. It's a huge congregation. We better agree to it. Right? You know, I've met a number of governors. I've had dinner with them. I've had the opportunity to have dinner with them for different functions, different reasons, and also representatives and those kinds of people that are out there doing their thing. And I realized one thing, they're just like me. They have their biases. They're humans. Human beings. Weak in some areas, opinions in some. They're no different. They're not special. And because they have opinions, those opinions can be persuaded. Trust me. Right? Because they have opinions, those opinions can be persuaded. All you got to do is call up and say, yo, what are you doing, man? I don't agree with that. I'm not for mandatory vaccinations, as I call it. And they said, okay, sir, we will record it. And they got bombarded because there are other people that are not walking in our faith that are making the call. Imagine, brethren, imagine, and here's where I come with you with this paradigm shift. Imagine if the people of Yahweh, if the believers, the Messianic, Hebrew roots people, the ladies who are sitting at home nursing their babies, just get on the phone and say, I don't agree with this. Always about numbers in the world. But with us, it's about faith and representing and keeping His word and defending His honor. It's that simple. Look what it says in Titus 1:19. It says, he must be devoted to the trustworthy message which we teach. Then he can use these accurate teachings to encourage people and correct those who oppose the word. Correct those who oppose his ways. So that we can straighten out those who are trying to dishonor our Creator in a way that benefits believers. Look at 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 2. It says, preach the word, be prepared in season and out of season, correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction. Never in my wildest dreams, guys, never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that in my lifetime we would be talking about killing a baby minutes after it is born. It's bad enough to kill him in the womb. But now we've graduated. Why? Because we have allowed it. So I want to bring something to you right here, right now. If you don't take responsibility for it, you will never do anything to change it. So I want you to feel guilty. I want you to feel responsible for the fact that we're moving towards a time in which we want to kill newborns right after they are born. And if you don't feel responsible right now for it, you see, I do. I'm not asking you to do something that I'm not already doing. I feel responsible. When I thought about it, I realized that I'm just as guilty as the guy who's going to slice that baby after he is born. Therefore, I, Hector Castillo, have to do something about it. I may not be able to stop it, but Yahweh will know that I stood up and defended his honor. And if you don't feel responsible right here, right now, you will never do anything. You're going to go home and you're going to eat your food and you're going to spend time with your family. Nothing wrong with that. You're doing good stuff. But this is not the time for us to be slumbered, sleeping. This is the time for us to be watchmen on the wall. There's a season for everything, right? After the harvest, you rest and eat. This is the time to do the work and to feel responsible and for us to be actively involved in one way or another. And trust me, you don't even have to leave your house. The technology is there for you to get involved. Type in your name, sign a notice to let them know that numbers matter and that you are going to stand up, not only for his word, but you're defending his honor. And if you don't, you don't want him to come to you and say, why didn't you? Why didn't you stand up for the innocent? Why didn't you make it? You know, the other day when I called, because in Illinois, oh my goodness, Illinois is the worst state in the country as far as I'm concerned. And they make it known. And they had a picture with the governor and a bunch of preachers saying, we are going to give Planned Parenthood the access to be able to be the most progressive baby killing system, have the most progressive baby killing system anywhere in the country. And we're so proud of it. You know, it was the Empire State lighted up a couple weeks ago. Now it's going to be the Sears Tower, what they're calling the Willis Building. Light it up. You see, they're honoring their system. They're defending their system. But we're not defending ours. And yet, we have the greatest advantage. Because we have a mighty creator that can shrink the heart of a young lady. And we just simply say, will you do it? I will boast about it. And he does it. A lot of people say, well, there's nothing I can do. Is that right? Well, let's see, what did Moses do? I'm going to kill all the Israelites. Yahweh, now. What are they going to say over there about you? As if he cares what they say. I mean, you ever think about that story? Like, what are they going to say about you, those people? And I'm supposed to believe that he's like, oh my goodness, I didn't think about that. What are they going to say about me? What are they going to think about me? But you see, it isn't about, he wasn't concerned about what they were going to say about him. He loved the heart of a servant who took responsibility on himself, and he took the guilt on himself enough to say, please don't kill them. Instead, kill me. Abraham, another guy. Sodom and Gomorrah. If you don't think we're living in the times, listen, guys. You need to read your Bibles, right? Get out of Netflix and get into the Senator broadcast in Texas, Illinois, Washington, whatever, man. Get educated. He goes down to 5 people. He's negotiating with the Creator. Like he's trying to make a deal, man. I mean, you guys with me on that? Do you realize how cool that is? That you can have a discussion with the Creator of the world over an area that he's going to annihilate, and you can say, now. Well, he agreed to 25. All right, hey, how about... The Father isn't about killing. That's not his business. He's known as the Creator. He's about creating and establishing and building. It is against his nature to destroy. He hates doing it. Because if he didn't hate doing it, he would easily say, no, Moses, get out of there. Abraham, get out of there. Be quiet. I don't want to hear anything. But he's having this dialogue. Listen, you can have the same dialogue, guys. You are David. You are Abraham. You are Moses. Moses. Let's talk about David for a minute. He has a son that's fixing, as you guys say down in the south, fixing to die. Right? Okay? And he doesn't say, well, he's the creator of the world. He has the power. I guess he'll just let my son die. No. We are told that he fasted. We are told that he prayed with earnest. I'm talking earnest. Like he was committed to this to cause Yahweh's attitude to change towards that. It ultimately didn't, but he didn't just say, okay, you're the creator, you give and take away, I just have to accept it. Our Father wants us to be people that bring forth life, either through our prayers or our relationships, or through our actions when people are trying to destroy his honor. We may not be able to stop them killing babies when they're born, but we sure as heck are going to give it our all and do everything that we can as a group of people of believers, not just here, but as I'm traveling around to the different ministries. This is the message that I'm giving them. Quit slumbering. This is not the time to take a nap. We haven't yet harvested. This is the time to go to war. This is the time to organize, to think bigger than ourselves, to pray, to be in action. Prayer works. But what I see is prayer and action always works and is best. It just is. Because their intent on not stopping there. Pretty soon it'll be our grandparents. Look around the house, those of you that have grandparents here. Imagine a time, if you could imagine a time when they were killing babies that were just born. Right? Imagine a time when your grandparents will be killed because they're too old. I know it's hard for us to fathom. Listen, if somebody would have told me this 5 years ago, one of these days, you're going to be dealing with a society that wants to kill children when they're born, after they're born. I'd be like, please. I've been sitting there like you guys, thinking, Hector is just crazy. He's a lunatic. He doesn't know anything. Because I'm just not going to believe it. And yet here we are, 2019. In Illinois, they're talking about, like I said, they want to be identified as the most progressive baby killing machine in the state, probably the world. And one thing they did not expect is just recently, a couple days ago, because they give you the opportunity to say no. That's the thing. They give you the opportunity to say no. You just have to be smart enough to take it. And they had over 12,000 people that signed up to speak against it. And they said, we have never had, ever in the history of this system, have we had as many people that stood up and said, not on my watch. I will be there. You imagine to hear 12,000 people? 12,000 people. And everybody gets at least 2 or 3 minutes to say, no, I will not do it. I was proud of that. I was incredibly proud that we have at least some people in Illinois that are saying, not on my watch. Now, again, don't worry about whether or not we can stop it. That's not for you, that's for Yahweh. But be actively let him know that under your watch, you will not tolerate anybody disrespecting his honor. You just won't have it. Not under our watch. A unified force of believers that does something as simple as a phone call that takes 2 minutes can make a difference. That's the way the system is set up. That's just the way it's set up. You don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to have any kind of intellect. And you guys may not have PhDs as I don't either, but I know you guys have high intellect. And you have high love, and you have high desire. You're already walking in his ways. You're already changing your lives. You've already went through the change of dealing with your families. You've already lost relatives. Some of you might have even gotten divorced because you walked in this faith. I mean, you've already lost lots of things. Now it's time to gain. It's time to stand up for our Creator and defend His honor. If you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for Him. Because He's worthy enough for you to stand up for Him. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead what? Expose them. Reveal them. Hey man, they're trying to kill newborn infants. But we better do something about that. We better go into action. Ezekiel 22, verse 30. I sought for a man among them who would build up the wall and stand in the gap before me. But there was none. I looked all over the land for my people to stand up and build the wall so that I would not destroy them, and stand in the gap, and I found none. Are we going to be identified with this people? Or are we going to be identified with those that stood on the gap? Those that said, not under my watch. No way. Those that said, I will do everything I can to defend those innocent people. Those that would say, you will not vaccinate me by force. I will choose, if that is my desire. It says right there, like, read it carefully. Write it down, Ezekiel 22:30. You go back and read it in your homes. He is looking. Why is He looking for somebody? Why is He looking? Well, the Creator, why does He have to look? I can't just He assign somebody. Because He wants us to be like Moses, that volunteers ourselves, that are actively working for Him. He wants workers in the field. He wants us to choose to defend His honor. You know that as a parent, a lot of parents here, isn't it the case, doesn't it make you happy? It doesn't make you happy. Aren't you happiest, I shall say, when your child on his own or her own goes into their room and cleans it up? You're like almost confused. Are you not joyous when on their own they're doing good things? Is our Father any different? I mean, does He really have to spell it out for us every time? I mean, seriously. Like, don't you think that He's happiest when we on our own are actively seeking and working to defend Him, and He doesn't even have to tell us? Right? There's no difference between how He works and operates. He says we're made in His image. He's the same way. I mean, aren't you as a parent, wouldn't you be happy if you go on vacation and, you know, your son or daughter lives nearby and maybe they're driving by and they see somebody trying to break in your house and you are like, hey, I'm going to call the police because that's my parents' home. I'm going to defend my parents' property. I'm going to guard his belongings or her belongings or their belongings. Wouldn't you as a parent appreciate that? Wouldn't you essentially expect that? Or do you have to be told, all right, Josh, we're going to go on a trip, and if you happen to be driving by the house and there's people breaking the windows, make sure you pick up your phone, dial 911, and call them and say, hey, there's somebody trying to break into my parents' house. Right? Now, what kind of a world would we live in if Josh comes and tells me, hey man, Hector, I saw somebody breaking into your house, but he didn't leave any instructions as to what I was supposed to do. So they asked for help, so I helped them. I just showed them where you had to move. They wanted to know where the safe was. I'm helpful like that. Well, our Father has a house, guys. And He appreciates it when we, on our own, defend His house and His property. He appreciates it when we, on our own, take the liberty to do everything that we can to defend humanity, even if that type of humanity doesn't recognize him the way we do. He is most pleased when we do something and we have not been prompted to do it. Such as simple as, well, I was going to say, in her case, she's got a story. Microwaves, blowing up with remote controls, right? I mean, she's got an awesome history. You guys should follow her. You're going to laugh at all the stuff that her kids do. But I know she'd be happy if her kids did not put their remote in the microwave and turn it on. I know she'd be. So, I want to go back to this scripture right here. Psalm 94, verse 16. And we already read about the stand in the gap, right? He's looking for somebody. I'm looking for somebody to do it out of their own will. I don't want to have to prompt them. I want them to stand up and say, not only am I going to obey your word, guard your word, but I'm also going to defend your honor. You can count on me, Yahweh. You can count on me. I'm not just a talker of the word. I'm a doer of the word. Let's go do something. Let's defend this generation that is imploding upon themselves, because we have been blessed with an amazing gift, and that is to have a relationship with the Creator who loves us, who has given us laws to govern us, has given us things so we can have better relationships, even though sometimes it doesn't seem like that in our walk. Right? We put a lot of ourselves in it. That's our problem, that we can't relate to people. That's not his problem. It's our problem. Because these laws were made to be proven and tested for us. We just got to follow them. But we also then need to defend his honor. If you remember one thing today, guys, seriously, you have the duty, you have the right, as children of Yahweh, followers of Messiah, to defend his honor. Let that sink in for a minute. You have a responsibility to defend his honor. Because everything in that house that is his is yours. Everything. Salvation comes from within the house of the Father. So we have to be active. We have to rise up as a people and say, you know what? In 2019, when I had a decision to make as to whether or not they were going to kill a child after it's born, or even just a child in the womb, I did everything I could to say no. I did everything I could to stop. At least I can wash my hands from that, of what society is trying to do to us. At least I was active. I was prayerful, but I was active. At least I picked up the phone. At least I went to visit. They met me. They saw my face. They saw my righteous anger. Right? They heard my words saying, what you're doing is wrong. At least I defended his honor. And I'm talking about I representing all of you as believers. Look at Psalm 94:16. It's a question. Let's do this little fun exercise. I'm going to read the question, and then you guys will say, I will. Ready? Okay, I reiterate. I will read the question, and then you guys will say, I will. And I want the kids to yell as loud as you can. This is fun stuff here. You don't always get the opportunity to be as loud as you can, but I want you to stand up, you kids, and say, I will. Are you ready? You guys with me? All right, I'm going to read the question. And I want those kids to yell out, I will. I will. Who will rise up for me against the wicked? Who will take a stand for me against evildoers? Woo! Awesome. See how easy that is? Let's stand up against the wicked. Let us do everything that we can to defend our Heavenly Father's word and His honor. And I'm looking for one scripture that I think I skipped. If you just bear with me. It won't take too long. Actually, I might have forgot. To type it down. But the scripture is about what is pure religion. Say it real loud. Care for the widows and the orphans. You know that word care? You guys should look it up and then do a study on it. It also goes along with the word to defend and protect them. Yeah, you feed them, you protect them, you do everything you can to guard any kind of damage against them. It's our duty to defend His honor. It's our duty to keep His word, and it's our duty to guard His word. And it's also our duty to defend and protect even those people that we don't know, but that He has entrusted to us during our time. A guy by the name of Buckminster Fuller said, "We are called to be architects of the future, not its victims." We are called to be architects of the future, not its victims. Jane Goodall said, "Who do you want to be? And what kind of world do you want to create? You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference. And you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." Live our grandchildren. Get involved. Make a difference. Yahweh bless you.
Thank you, Hector, for bringing that excellent message. To be where I can get complacent, because I know Yahweh is all powerful, but we can play a part in how history shapes out, just like Abraham did when he pled with Yahweh to not kill as many, or if there were righteous people found in Sodom and Gomorrah. We can play a part in how history shapes out. I just appreciate your message. Now I'll invite the band to come back up and we'll have a final song.
All right, for our last song, we'll do Standing On.
And all of my heart, and all that I am, worship you, Yah. And all of my heart, and all that I am, worship you, Yah. And all of my heart, and all that I am, worship you, Yah. And all of my heart, and all that I am, worship you, Yah. You know better than life and anything in this world. 'Cause you know all that I want and everything you want, you. I stand in awe of all that you are. I stand in awe of you. 'Cause you know I'm better than life and anything in this world. 'Cause you know I'm all that I want and everything you want, you. I stand in awe of all that you are. I stand in awe of you. I stand in awe of all that you are.
May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. And they shall place my name on the children of Israel, and he will bless them.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for a wonderful Sabbath and a wonderful message that we've heard today. We just pray that it was pleasing in your sight, and these words will all be able to take and apply to our lives in this upcoming week. Just thank you so much for everyone.
I could ask everybody to stay for some of these announcements that we have this morning. I would ask if there's any announcements that anyone else has to
this leads right into what I wanted to bring to y'all. I'm sending in for Ruth. But it's the Texas Faith and Family Day in Austin. It's this coming up Wednesday. And we've arranged to use the church bus to go down there. It's going to be leaving at 4:30 in the morning and getting back in about 5. And there's a sign-up sheet out in the front if you can sign up. Any of you that would be interested in going or able to go. But they're putting up some of you have never read, and also Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, and then we also have a chance to go and talk to our legislators and encourage them to promote legislation that is faith and family friendly. And then there's a rally on the south steps of the Capitol building, and it's always important to have as many people there as you can because you usually get some kind of prestige out in the lobby also for instructions. Thank y'all.
Yeah, that's a great thing. And if you've never heard the speaker that she mentioned, he's what's his name again? I've heard him, but I forgot his name already.
Alan West.
Yeah, Alan West. I mean, this guy is a special guy, and so you'll enjoy it. But last evening, sometime during the night, to southwest of Dallas or Fort Worth, I'm not sure, but they're doing a heart cath today to see what his damage is on his heart. And I don't think it was severe, but I do think he had some damage. And so let's continue to lift Joe up in prayer as we go through the week. And also let's remember John Lescaz. The elders to pray over. We'll hand it to an usher. And if you would like to be prayed for yourself, you can meet us in a few minutes in the library. Oh, was we able to put that video up, you think?
Is dead, unclear whether that's. Well, welcome back. We're calling this breaking news out of Sutherland Springs, Texas. A shooting taking place at the First Baptist Church there. Multiple people have been shot. We understand from authorities there on the ground that the gunman is dead. Unclear whether that's from a self-inflicted wound or whether police took him down. We do understand that there was some sort of chase from Wilson County, which is where the First Baptist Church is, into nearby Guadalupe County. Albert Gomez Jr. is the Wilson County Commissioner, and with me on the line right now. Mr. Gomez, what are you learning about?
And to keep the Sabbath and do the things that believers do. And so we're engaged in the protection of the members of this assembly. And of course we have a security team who has dedicated themselves to protecting you while you're here. And to do this properly, we have to train the security team to be prepared. And the other part of this equation is that we need to train you guys as members of the team to continue this training. And once again, Hector has graciously agreed to come up and lead us in that training this morning. And so, put your hands together for Hector as he comes up to you. And give him your full attention.
All right, everybody, you thought you were getting rid of me, right? Well, you were wrong this time. All right, we're going to go through some exercises, something that we've been doing as I've been traveling to different churches and synagogues and as congregations here in the last couple of months. Go anywhere, all right? So we're doing this to help you to train you to respond to any kind of threat that might occur. Now, a lot of times people say, well, he says yes. And when I ask them, well, don't you trust Yahweh just to protect you? Right? We're doing it because it makes sense. We're doing it because, unfortunately, we live in a time in which a dangerous place to be is church. Shouldn't be like that, but that's the way it is. And so we have to be smart enough to do things to keep us protected. And so that's why we're doing this training. I appreciate Ferris, because that means Yahweh, it will never happen, right? Never. We don't want it to. But if it does, one of the things that we know from experience and years of training is that this thing called muscle memory. Have you heard of it? Muscle memory. This little thing called muscle memory that causes you to react and not think. Now, how many of you can tell me what you do in a fire if you have to run outside a house that's on fire? What do you do? Stop. What? Yeah. See how simple it is? Do you know that if you're ever in a fire, you don't even have to worry about, am I going to do that? You know that it naturally comes to you because you have muscle memory. That's why. There are many things that you do because of muscle memory. That's why. So what we're going to do then, again, in a count of 3, we're going to pretend, and right now we're just going to go through simulation, and then we're actually going to do the drill. So we're going to pretend, and I'm going to yell out, live shooter in the lobby, and all of you are going to, where you're sitting, you're just going to duck down and make yourself less of a problem. Okay, looking good. You become less of a target than you would be. All right, thank you very much. Go ahead and sit back up. All right, we're going to do it again. Just go through the simple steps, right? It's almost kind of fun, isn't it? Okay, we're going to do it again. In a count of 3, I'm gonna just gently say, live shooter in the lobby, and you guys are just going to react as a team. 1, 2, 3, live shooter in the lobby. Okay? Excellent. You guys are amazing. Believe it or not, if something was to ever happen, your security team has been trained to yell out as loud as they can, all right? To yell out as loud as they can in case you forget. So we're going to do this next thing, and your security team, they're just going to yell out. You're going to hear voices that are going to say, get down, get down, get down, all right? Because I want you to be familiar with that type of scenario so you're not in shock. So I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to yell, live shoot in the lobby, and your security team you're going to hear them just yell, get down, get down, get down. All right? 1, 2, 3. Live shoot in the lobby. Get down, get down, get down. Okay, perfect. Excellent. Thank you. Throw yourselves down there. You just do the That's what some of you guys throw on yourselves. Down. All right, very good. Very good. See, the security team responded to that. Excellent. All right, we're going to get excellent. Give yourselves a round of applause. That was intense. That was intense, but good. Trust me, I know this from experience. So, your security team is trained, and they're constantly training, and they're preparing themselves to defend you should something ever happen. But they're not police officers, all right? And even if they were police officers, once police officers come in, They are regular, considered to be regular members of your congregation. So there's two instances where things become quite critical. Two times when things are very critical. One is as the live shooter, and the next time is when the real police officers, no offense to the security team, but the police officers show up in a SWAT team and they come in with all kinds of weapons ready to shoot everything that moves. So we have to train you to do the right thing so that you don't get shot by the police officers. All right? Because they don't ask questions. They just come in, and if they see you as a threat, in other words, if you just run out and they see you coming in full force, you might get shot. So now we got to go through that scenario of possibly you having to deal with police forces coming in, and you need to know what to do. So what you're going to do then is, if the police, say the police, and they will respond, but not if. When the police officers come in, you're going to do something so simple and so effective that it's going to make sense to you. You're going to raise your hands. You're going to expose your hands out, both of them up. Go ahead and put them up. And spread out your fingers. And you're going to show them that you're not a threat. All right? You're going to raise your hands. Go ahead and put them down. But you're going to raise your hands when the security team announces law enforcement on ground. Law enforcement on ground. You're going to immediately put your hands up. Ready? All right, we're going to do it. 1, 2, 3. Law enforcement on ground. Very good. The reason why you need to do that is because you don't and you put and show his hands. As simple as that. If he had done that, he would probably still be alive. But because he didn't, and cops are trained to shoot first and ask questions later, unfortunate, that young man is dead. And all he had to happen. But the police reacted to what their training is. And their training is to shoot first, ask questions later. All right, so now we're going to combine this little hand thing with a response to the live shooter exercise. So now you're going to get down on your knees, protect yourself, and when we say law enforcement on the ground, then you're going to be right where you are, but you're going to sort of rise up and put your hands out and expose your hands. Okay? You ready? All right. Live shooter on the ground.
Get down! Get down! Get down!
Law enforcement on grounds. There you go. Put your hands up. Exactly. Good. Take too long, I promise. Now what they're going to do is they're going to come one at a time, and they're going to be checking everyone. So stay patient, because they're going to do it through the back first. They're going to escort those people out, and then they're going to come back in and escort them out. And all right, come on up. You got it? All right, go ahead and put your hands up. Go ahead and sit down. All right, one last thing we're going to do, and then we'll be done. Now, we just did live shooter lobby exercise. But what if the bad guy is one of you? No, just kidding. What? That's very correct. So, you guys remember what we did last time? That was kind of fun, right? We're going to throw everything at them, including our Bibles, whatever it is, whatever we have, we're going to throw at them to deflect them, to cause them to think differently. Well, for today's exercise, we're going to pretend that there are people in the crowd, there are bad people, and that they are intending on doing something bad, and they're sitting right next to you. And in a minute, I'm going to say something, and I'm going to ask those people to stand up as fast as possible. And the people that are around them, if you see somebody right up and they're sitting around them, then you have to put your hand on their shoulder as quickly as you can. All right, one more time. I'm going to instruct those people to stand up as fast as you can. Those people that are around those people that stand up, your job is to touch them as fast. Now, some of you won't have anybody there, which is fine. But those that do, your job is to put your hand on the back of their shoulder as fast as you can. And so the fastest you do it is the fastest that you have neutralized them. Got it? You with me? So I'm going to give you instruction here in a second. I'm going to tell the people to stand up. The minute they stand up, it's going to happen so fast, so listen up. You have to know your last name. Okay? We're going to do it by last names. You with me? If your last name ends with the letter L, stand up. Okay. Very good. All right. Looks like everybody did it, right? All right. Last one. If your last name ends with the letter S, stand up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the simulation is that you're literally putting your entire weight on them. You're holding them down. You're wrapping yourself around them because they're a threat to the people around you, to you and the people.